Hello everyone and welcome to an in-person episode of Wild Endeavour. Can you believe it? We're actually friends in real life.
It's great.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Debatable.
He actually helps me held hostage.
No, actually, he just sort of takes all my money and possessions and then just leaves. So we saw the Space Babies.
We did.
We were there together. We saw the Space Babies.
Special preview.
Yeah, do you want to talk a bit about the evening first?
Yeah.
Or...
we could do, yeah. This was very,
last minute.
Yeah. So, because it was before they even put, more tickets on sale. So it was you messaged me, I think 3 days before saying you had tickets.
Yeah.
And I was like...
Shout outs to Luke at Dragzilla on Twitter. They said, oh, if you don't get tickets, I've got to. I'm from the West Midlands, I can't make it up. So if you want them, you can have them. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, Jean, you want to go? And he was like...
Yeah, and I was like, well, I'm going. I have to go. So it was very, last minute. It was, booking buses, booking all this. It's like, I gotta get there. Well, I don't regret it. I regret how I went about it because it was so last minute. So I came down on the day to see the, premiere. And I had gotten no sleep. I was absolutely shattered by the time I got there, but... I still had a good time overall.
Yeah.
It was nice meeting various people involved in the show as well. That was cool. It was a lot more chilled out than, say, a BFI.
Yeah, BFI screenings, for those of you who've, never gone, are basically where they screen, at the South Bank, where they screen, the animations and, the collections and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I did describe it at the time as, it's a classy BFI.
Yeah, and it very much is that vibe. I mean, I just didn't envy you at all because you had, a 17-hour... bus journey for one night as well.
No, next time I'll definitely fly or get
and just stay for more than one night because normally you would, but in this case it was very
because you're doing things.
I've been busy. I've been abnormally busy. I'm never normally this busy, but it's been quite a bit going on. But yeah, so we sat down. Obviously, we saw a bunch of people. Obviously, I think you met Joe Confused Oedipus for the first time.
Oh yeah.
I think.
We were unsure. We sort of we caught eyes. I was like, have I met you before? I don't know.
Yeah, we just kind of assumed you had. It was weird
because I've known him for so long as well, just through you. So I've spoken to him multiple times, and just it could have been our first meeting. I don't know. He's really chill anyway.
He did promise to bring my Cyberman head, and he forgot it. So if you're still watching this and wondering, where's Dennis? Where's Mike Hawk or whatever you want to call him, because that's still up for debate. It's with Joe, so if you want him back, brigade his comment.
I like the idea that Joe's just holding on to it. He's keeping it. He's convinced it's his, and it's no, I'll bring it. I'm bringing it, bro.
Yeah, no.
It says sat proudly on his shelf.
Yeah, it's this is mine now. Yeah. But yeah, so we went in. They were really good, to be fair, because we managed to get the disabled seats.
Yeah, they were first people in. So.
That's why, because people were saying when I tweeted out a picture of the hall, it was oh, it looks absolutely packed. No one there, and that's because we were we were in early because a disabled spot and all of that sort of stuff. And there was a stair lift that I had to go on, which I felt very Remembrance of the Daleks. I nearly made a joke because you were at the top of the stairs. I was about to go you are the Doctor and do the whole Remembrance of the Daleks screen, but I didn't because I have some self-control, not a lot, but some. And then the episode started. It played, and thank you for watching the podcast. Now,
our reviews.
So I guess I can ask you this now. Just overall. General vibes. How are you feeling?
Very positive. Very, very positive. I didn't quite know what to expect going in. I sort of thought Space Babies. This is probably going to be one of the weaker ones.
I thought
just from what we've seen material-wise. I was talking babies. Little bit cringe conceptually.
Yeah. It did remind me of the those early 2000s.
Yeah, Baby Geniuses.
Yeah, Baby Genius, or when they get talking animals, Hotel for Dogs, and stuff like
Space Buddies.
Yeah, Air Buddies and all that.
Yeah. I had a really fun time with this.
Yeah.
I think this is the most I've smiled throughout watching a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just because of the whole environment. It was obviously
that does help, I think.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching this Star Beast the same way, because I've obviously got the experience of doing it with that as well, and I do think it elevates it. So I am not saying it'll go down in my estimations, but I do think it'll probably, especially with the rest of the series, it will probably. Obviously, right now, in terms of this era, in terms of this series, we haven't really got anything to compare it
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Yeah.
Sans Church or Ruby Road, I guess, which I would say I preferred this to Church. I'm going to come out and
I
say
did
that
as well. Yeah.
right now. I think this was more fun.
I think this one might have more problems than Church, but overall, I think the strengths are a lot higher as well.
Yeah,
I think it's got like.
I think it's got more going on than Church.
Oh yeah, it's got more going for it. 100%. I just think there are a few clunky bits. I think where Church doesn't capture me as much, it's more in its pacing. It's quite is unambiguous the word I'm wanting?
Or unambitious.
It's unambitious. It's not as ambitious as I'd want. This, although it is more of a basic sort of New Earth, or, it's your basic episode 1.
We were having this conversation last night, actually. I think we do prefer it definitely to New Earth.
Oh, yeah.
It's difficult with the other two Russell openers because they are very strong. Smith and Jones.
I'd say this ranks about maybe in like the middle of Russell's
and in terms
opener.
of like just openers broadly, I would put it, I'd put it above like majority of things post Series 7, in my opinion.
Yeah,
probably. Because maybe not the pilot, actually. The pilot is pretty strong. But I think it's one of those, I think, you can't go into it expecting a groundbreaking story because a lot of this story is going through the basics.
Mm-hmm.
This is the TARDIS. This is what it does. This is time travel. This is the Doctor's Time Lord from Gallifrey, who's, all of that stuff. You've got to get all that out
I was surprised how quickly they've just rattled through that. It was like, as soon as like the titles rolled, it was like, I'm the Doctor, I'm the last of the Time Lords, this is the TARDIS, it does this, and they were like, damn, they're really just throwing...
Part of me liked that as a returning viewer, because I was like, I know all this, but then equally it's kind of like, for a new audience, would it be nicer for them to have it kind of drip fed a bit? But then again,
I think there are some things, and I'm sure we'll get onto it with the key and stuff like that. Because there are a few things that I think would have benefited from coming a bit later in the series, but I understand what they were doing because they kind of want everyone to be at the same level. Going in, it's like, okay, we're all fans, we all grasp the concept. Let's crack on and just have a fun time.
I think Church does feel somewhat not redundant. Redundant's the wrong word. But, like, because we've already seen the TARDIS time traveling and stuff, I think for a new audience, it's sort of like, well, yeah, even if, say you started watching with Church on Ruby Road, it's like, well, we've seen the TARDIS do time travel, you know what I mean? So,
but
there's an element of that.
I guess it's the viewing it through the companion's lens, so it's obviously Ruby.
Because, like, Ruby hasn't seen that, so it's fair enough. I thought all those scenes were mostly done very well. I thought, as I said, I think the Doctor and Ruby's chemistry, like, that's the main thing I take away from this.
That is the strongest
element
of this
That's what makes
episode.
this different. Because you take that away,
and
this could be an opening episode for any Doctor and Companion, really. Fundamentally, it is quite a standard introduction, which isn't a bad thing. But I think what makes it feel unique is the dynamic.
The
dynamic feels different.
The plot isn't that great by itself, but the Doctor and Ruby definitely elevate this one. I think the Doctor in particular, like, Ncuti is just on point throughout. Even some things that I think would be cringe coming from other actors, he somehow, like, when he does this, for example, when he's excited, you're like...
It's like,
It's like, what? That's like some cringe, like, 2000 flicker shit.
That's the thing, it's like...
But he pulls it off.
They've managed to do a Gen Z sort of TARDIS team without it feeling overly cringe. Like, how do you do fellow kids type thing. I'm 20, you're like mid-20s. They speak how we speak to each other for the most part. Like, you still get the sense that Ruby's younger than the Doctor, obviously, because there's like moments where he's like obviously covering her eyes and stuff, and you get this sense that she's a little bit obviously, she's new to life, whereas the Doctor, while he's younger visually, has lived a lot more, obviously. They even do the phone thing.
They do,
I did think, I was like, I get why they're doing it, but I did think the structure of this scene is pretty much identical. I was looking at both, it's literally just the same scene. Not going to say copy and paste it, because there are a few different...
I think that was the moment where I was like, oh, we really are just throwing everything out.
Getting the red tape out of the way, essentially. This is the stuff you need to know. Oh, how does she ring home? How does time travel work? There you go. We've explained it. Oh, we haven't talked about, actually, the title sequence.
Yes, they fixed the title sequence. I'm so happy. It was the first thing I noticed. Well, obviously, it was the first thing they showed.
Yes.
But it's
there was no cold open, which I thought was interesting.
No, it's not as choppy.
No,
it's like I think in that original one, you have like a pretty clean cut, and then it cuts to the TARDIS like spinning in when you get the logo.
Yeah.
This time it's sort of more twists, and then it's a lot more smooth.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's the 3D render of the logo, which is just so much better. Yeah.
And the little extra bit of vortex and space I thought would really help. It just really made it feel more expansive, you know, it made it feel more like less like a straight, well, it wasn't a tunnel before, but you know what I mean? It wasn't as linear, I suppose. It felt a bit more expansive, and I really liked that. The one thing I will say, and I probably do need to rewatch it, but I did think the music felt a bit like slightly off.
I didn't notice it. I thought, and I'm probably wrong on this, I thought maybe it went on longer than it did. But again, that could all be in my head. I did think the theme went on a little bit longer, but again, I could be talking about my arse.
Yeah, I thought it went on longer, but again, you know, we've only seen it the once. We've just come off of seeing it last night, so we might get bits wrong. Because as well, that's another thing, because we were sat right at the back. There was some bits of dialogue that I didn't quite hear the first time.
I didn't really have that problem, but...
Fair enough. Most of it I did, but like, for example, I said in my review, and but to be fair, you're not sure either, the whole resolution of this story, I'm still a bit...
I think my interpretation is what they were going for, being it's the manifestation of something that is supposed to be scary. So we inherently are all scared of it. Even the Doctor was caught off guard of like, why was I scared of this? Like, I should
the Doctor's never scared of anything,
Yeah. And it's more of like, it's scary because it's supposed to be scary. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's evil or ever was.
No, I completely agree with that. It's the sort of thing where I think I like as well that the Doctor can still be scared by things. Because I think sometimes, especially, I think I felt this a lot with like Moffat's era, where it's like the Doctor feels so omnipresent and omnipotent that nothing really phases them. And I quite like that we're not really, obviously not even just in this episode, but things like Wobbly Yonder, for example, the Doctor is genuinely scared.
Well, that's the thing, it makes the character vulnerable. It's like, if the Doctor's scared, you know, we've seen everything the Doctor's been through, it's like, you genuinely feel, it's like, oh, fuck. Like, that means something.
And even like, you know, with the Toymaker as well, like, oh yeah, this guy can mess up some stuff. So I really like that that's a ongoing thing. The Doctor isn't just cavalier about everything. I thought it was interesting. The Doctor doesn't says he doesn't have a purpose, and when Reedy presses him, oh, is that what you do? You go around saving people? He's like, no, this is just, you know, for babies. You know, this is just a one-off thing. Like, I think that's interesting. It implies that maybe we're getting a slight reprise of the Capaldi thing of he doesn't necessarily think of himself as a hero or a good guy necessarily, which I thought was interesting. I mean,
I don't mind that as a direction.
No, I'll be interested to see where that goes and how they handle it.
Yeah, same.
Especially because this Doctor seems to be facing things that are a lot more cosmic, even for his standards. Like, obviously, Jinx Monsoon is in the Devil's Court as well, and we kind of know, like, okay, she's going to be, you know, godly and doing things that the Doctor can't really stop.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, the Doctor is a character who thrives on knowing more than everyone else. So when you put him in a setting where he's got no idea, that's really interesting. And I liked the mystery of it. Something else I actually thought, which I didn't mention in my review, the Sonic is largely absent. It's that little that little dock that the nanny has. We've got to talk about that in a second. And it largely stays there for the majority of the runtime.
I'm glad. Though.
Yeah, no, I agree. It does feel like, of the modern showrunners, my opinion at least, Russell has the most restraint when it comes to the Sonic.
I agree with that.
Because, like, Wobbly Yonder is another example of where it's barely used. The Giggle, it wouldn't do anything to the Toymaker anyway.
Yeah.
The Star Beast does have it quite a bit, to be fair, but I mean, you're showing off a new Sonic, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, like, so that was good. Talking about the babies and that whole thing, one of the things that I really stuck out to me for this episode, and I've kind of reiterated it a few times, comedy. I thought this episode was genuinely funny at multiple times. And it didn't feel like it was trying too hard to be funny either.
No.
The only thing I will say was, I think you pointed out to me first, there is a couple of repeats of, like, you say things like, they're space babies.
Yeah, he says space babies about 50 times in this episode.
We get it, they're babies from space.
Like, come on.
Yeah. But like beyond that, it didn't really feel like it was trying too hard. I am conscious of the repeating thing that you mentioned there, because in the trailers, the Bridgerton gag is referenced a lot, and I'm worried that we might.
I don't think that'll be done as much. I
hope not.
It may be like a rule of thirds at most. But...
I'm hoping that's what it is, because I think if you go beyond that, it starts to get a little bit like, we get it. It's like Bridgerton, or it's babies in space, you know?
Yeah.
We get it. But I thought the babies themselves, as in character-wise, I thought they were fun. I thought the whole idea of them being basically babies, but they were mature.
Yeah.
But they hadn't grown up, and there was a really nice scene between the Doctor and the captain of the baby crew, Poppy, where she's like, "Oh, did we go wrong? Did we grow up wrong?" And he's like, "There's no such thing as growing up wrong." That was a very Doctor
moment.
And he's like, well, "I was found by the Time Lords." He's like that. Ncuti has some wonderful moments in this episode for sure, and so does Millie. I think the dynamic, as I said, is really fun. Like the moment that sticks out to me is when they're investigating where the bogey man came from, and Millie actually gets covered in bogeys themselves, and he's trying to break the news to Ruby that that's what they've just trodden in, and you just can't stop laughing. I think that's great. It's the sort of natural fun of those adventures that I kind of missed in the previous era. Like, I never really got the sense that they were particularly enjoying it, the last era.
No.
This, I can totally understand why someone would go travelling with 15, 100%.
It's weird. Even from Ruby Road, it was like, it felt like there was a bond there, and like they genuinely seemed to be having a good time with each other, and that is just continued, but like times 5 throughout this one.
Yeah.
Even during the moments where it's like, I shouldn't really be having fun here, but you know. Ruby...
Oh yeah, you go.
It's that one scene where it's like the Doctor's like, "Oh yeah, no, stay here with the babies," and she's like, "No, I'm coming with you."
I think that's the moment where he decides in his head, "Okay, you're my person going forward," which I really liked as a scene.
Yeah.
I am sort of obviously the direction of this era, obviously of the Gatwa Gibson era particularly, seems to be in a more comedic direction, which I'm on board for. The one thing I do hope is that when like a big threat comes, because we haven't really seen them face a huge threat yet.
No.
It's really been like goblins stealing babies, or
it's still early days though.
It is still early days, but I hope that when a big threat does come, there is those moments. Because serious.
Look at Tennant's era.
Yeah,
it took a while for like a proper like big hitter to come along.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I don't want the comedy to go too. Yeah, that's one slight concern I do have. Is like, because I think that's something that's kind of an issue with like late stage Tom Baker, where he's so just.
No, I get that. Yeah,
doing gags and bits.
Yeah,
it just takes all of the tension away from like the stories. I'm not saying that will happen necessarily, but it's something I'm going to be interested to see how they focus on a story that is just. Oh,
I think
crap!
I think these first 2 for season 1, they're going to be a bit light and fluffy. Moffat's episode is going to ramp up the stakes a bit.
I mean, even Devil's Cord, like we've seen that screenshot of looking really like distressed, and there's that like apocalypse shot as well.
I think it's going to be a slow build.
Ramping up slowly.
When we were at the event, everyone was hyping up episode 4.
Yes, they were. Yeah.
Like we spoke.
Oh, we should talk about the Q&A as well a bit, shouldn't we?
Yeah, we probably should cover some of that.
Yeah, we probably should. What else do you want to say?
It's hard because we're jumping about all over the place. It's still so fresh in our minds.
Yeah,
like,
very
I don't
fresh.
actually know what we've spoken about so far.
I loved a lot of the just like the gags from the Doctor, like, oh yeah, half the universe is basically knackered babes. Like things like babes, right? I can't imagine any other Doctor saying, but for some reason, when Gatwa says it, it works.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is. It works. Normally, if John Pertwee said babes, I'd be like, what's going on? Or like, Peter Davison, I'd be like, what? But with Gatwa, there's an energy that just makes it work.
Yeah, he sometimes makes stuff that shouldn't be cool.
Definitely, yeah, which I thought was really fun. The opening bit where they discover the babies and they're like, "Oh no, we're not your dad." We're making dad back. It's like, no,
another great comedy.
No. That did give me slight Ten and Donna vibe, but everyone was assuming they were a couple as well to a little extent. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but it's kind of it reminded me of that in a nice way. I was going to say, Nanny. Should we talk about the nanny? So she is basically. Well, initially they think that she's some sort of like artificial intelligence system for the babies to like interact with. Basically like, daycare Alexa, essentially.
Yeah.
But obviously it turns out she's like the last surviving like adult member of the crew, right?
Yeah.
And she's been hiding away in like one of the box cupboards. Oh no, that wasn't it. She wasn't last surviving. It was
she was one that stayed behind.
Yeah, she said that like they pulled funding for because they're on a baby farm, aren't they? They're on like a baby, growth program thing for like population and stuff, and they pulled out. And there's a really nice line from them being like, "Oh, but they want us to have babies, but they don't want to look after them afterwards." And Ruby's like, "Doesn't sound that weird." It's like moments like that are just nice. There's good bits of political commentary without it being like too
crammed down your throat.
It's not like Orphan 55 where it's like, this is the message. You get it? It's kind of like, oh no, there's this there's like these little subtle hints, which I appreciated. I thought it added some extra depth to the story, but perhaps there wouldn't have otherwise been. Because otherwise, as we said, it's quite a
light, fun
story. Yeah, I thought the horror moments with the bogeyman himself were very effective.
Yeah.
I jumped multiple times. I'm not afraid to say
there were a few jump scares throughout this.
Yeah, there were. I think it did have a good balance tonally for the most part. As I said, like obviously, I'm a bit concerned with the comedy going forward, but right now I think it works fine for episodes like this. Like 100%, I'm on board.
I mean, it's called Space Babies. It was never going to be
exactly, crazy serious thing. We didn't talk about the butterfly.
I was literally just about to bring that up.
Yeah,
the butterfly effect.
I thought that was fine. I know some people were a bit like, "Oh, but the butterfly effect doesn't happen in Doctor Who."
Yeah, but like, the thing is, right, the butterfly effect has been done in Doctor Who before. They're just a lot looser with the rules.
Yeah.
And I think that, how they went about it was perfect. Even to the point of where Ncuti was like, "Oh yeah, do I have a button on my TARDIS that I can just turn that off?"
Yeah.
And you're like,
I did joke to you, like, why would you ever switch that off?
Yeah.
Why would you ever be like, nah, I'm gonna just mess up unless you're like, to be fair, that would make the Master's plans a lot easier, wouldn't it? Just
I like how it's all done within scene as well, where it's like Ruby steps on the butterfly, his time changes, and he's like, "Oh shit, how do I fix this?" And it's like,
and I like that it implies that he can see what's going on because he's a Time Lord, he knows. Whereas with Ruby, obviously, she's not a Time Lord, but like Time Lords are supposed to be sensitive to time's changes. So I thought that was good, and it was like a nice subtle way of indicating that.
And then he resuscitates the butterfly.
He does. You said it was regeneration.
I just assumed it was regeneration because I was like, the Doctor, that would make sense to me. It's like, I mean, he could have, like, I don't know.
I just assumed he breathed into it, and it's sort of like, But, like, I thought that was a fun gag. I think it's one of those, you can't take it too seriously, like, I think some people would be like, oh, the butterfly effect's going to change everything.
I never got that. It was
it always came across to me in the trailers as, like, a gag, which is what it was.
Yeah, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I think they did it really well for what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole push the button motif, actually, I didn't speak about this in my review, but the whole thing of, like, that's a recurring theme, like push the button, and then that comes to the climax. That was interesting.
Right, yeah.
The sort of big elephant in the room is the snow thing.
The snow scene, I genuinely had, like, a shiver watching that in the cinema.
Oh, wow.
Because it was like, I don't know what it was. I think it was the changed memory. It was the cut between... Because he did this perfect transition of
it was really well directed.
Yeah.
Shout out to Julianne Robinson. I think the directing in this was fantastic.
And when he's standing there, and then Ruby's mom is just pointing, and I'm like, "Fuck, what's going on?"
Yeah, the memories changed, which is interesting.
Yeah, I thought that. I don't know. There was just something really eerie and sinister about it, and I think obviously we've seen the recurring snow thing within the trailer and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. In one of them, she's surrounded by snow.
Yeah, it looks like that. The Legend of Ruby Sunday, or the one that looks the more camera focused.
Yeah,
it looks like it's like a studio, and there's
I'm really curious to see what comes of all that. Really interested, because I know some people are a bit anti-mystery box. For me, I've always enjoyed them. I've always enjoyed Bad Wolf, Saxon, Torchwood. I live for that.
The thing is, we have about 4 different mystery boxes.
That is the slight concern I have.
All cooking together.
The slight concern I have is that is there too many?
Maybe.
That's a slight concern.
I think it's Russell, though. I feel like he's going to do something where he somehow ties them all together into one big thing.
Yeah. Maybe the one
who waits. Blow our minds, like how Yana was the "You Are Not Alone" thing back in 2007.
Yeah, that was good.
I feel like he might do something like that, and you're like, "Oh fuck, he's been weaving this massive tapestry."
On top of that, we can mention additionally, like, the Timeless Child stuff, the way that was handled. Like, obviously we kind of know that they're going along with it from the character end, which I think is the correct end to go about it. Like, you can tell the Doctor's over it, but, like, well, not over it, but, like, you can tell the Doctor's fine with it being a thing, but he doesn't want to go into
he doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah. It's like he wants to move on with life. He's like, look, I've done all that, bought the t-shirt, I've had the lore explained to me. I now just want to live my life. And I liked that. I think there probably are going to be moments. I thought it was kind of funny in a way that, like, Ruby knows more about, like, the Timeless Child in, like, one adventure than, like, Yaz ever got to know.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're completely right there.
And I know that, like, it was fresh for 13, but, like, I don't even think the Timeless Child was even mentioned to Yaz, was it?
I don't think so.
Her and Ryan had that conversation, but, like...
I'm not sure.
I don't think it ever was.
It's kind of baffling.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, it's all over now. No, but I actually do like the way they're continuing with it. It makes the Doctor relatable in a way that they haven't quite been. Obviously, I'm not a Doctor, but I imagine for people who are, it can be quite a comforting thing to watch. I think it's cool that, like, the Time Lords are his accepted identity, because he doesn't know what his identity is. So, like, he's just kind of embraced the Time Lords as his, adopted home, which works. I think that way, if people ask what the Doctor is, you can still say he's a Time Lord.
Yeah.
And you don't have to put, like, a billion asterisks next to it, which I think for a new era works. He's a Time Lord, but he was adopted by the Time Lords. Done. And the Time Lords are gone.
I think they're pushing agendas.
Oh, can we talk about that
one NMD guy?
Oh, God! Oh, no, I was cringing in my seat.
Yeah. So during the Q&A bit after, they put out audience questions. And there was this one guy, and I don't know what it is, but his question, it just kept going and going.
It felt
like get to
the
point. He started bringing out, like, we think that, like, the first, like, William Hartnell was the first Doctor and all this Timeless Children stuff. And he kept going, and it was like, where are you going
what was funny about it was
the
the question before him was saying how much they appreciated Timeless Child being carried on. And then this guy was like, I run a convention. I run a stall at a convention.
Yeah, and so many people come up to me saying that this is bad.
And say, the Timeless Child has ruined it, and the first Doctor's not the first Doctor anymore. And, like, Phil Collinson chimed in and was like, he's still the first Doctor. Yeah. And then, like, he said, well, a lot of people, with this Disney partnership, they feel like the messaging's been a little bit heavy-handed. And is there any pressure from Disney to do a message? And they very bluntly were just like, no.
Yeah.
It all comes from Russell T Davies. And they actually do say directly, Disney do not have say in the writing process. They can give suggestions for tweaks, as we've seen before with Church on Ruby Road, but the product of the episodes is purely Russell, whoever it is that's writing at the time. It's not like they've got, like, a secondary shadowy Disney writer, adding bits in. Like, it's all still Russell. Like, they suggest changes, but it's all still Russell, and he can also say no.
Yeah, he can also say no.
So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think also it was one of those questions where it just kept going, and I was like, even if you think like that, right? I just can't imagine how awkward it would be to ask that question directly to their faces.
Yeah, I was just like, read the room.
Like part of me almost respected it, but another part of me was like, bro, come on.
Yeah, I was just like, we just both looked at each other, just be please stop talking.
Yeah, I think we were just sort of like, oh god, is this what people think we're like? And it's like, oh no. But no, broadly though, I want to make this clear because people are going to be like, oh, why are you being so defensive of the Timeless Child? I was not a fan of the Timeless Child originally. And I think even speaking to Phil, you kind of got that vibe of, like, he had questions as well.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't like the Timeless Child conceptually. But it's that thing of, like, it's a thing now, and they're making the best of it.
Yeah.
And I'm really liking the additions and the character stuff they're doing with it.
Like, I think it would have, in the end, been somewhat reductive to just pretend 3 series of a show just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, sure, in the short term, like, some people would have liked that. Some people would have.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. They're doing some interesting things with the character.
You can't really treat the Timeless Child thing as a half-human reference, because it's not a throwaway line. an entire era of television.
Yeah, that only ended like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
You can't exactly just go.
You can just brush it off like, yeah, that didn't happen.
If it was like 10 years difference, you might have a bit of leeway
maybe.
there, you know. But I think Russell has been very deft and very clever in how he's continued it. Because like, you know, you listen to that interview he gave recently for Radio Times, and he's not interested in the lore of it, the Division or Tecteun or any of that. He just focused on the character,
how it affects
the character, and also how it affects his relationship to Ruby, who's also a foundling herself.
And I agree.
I think it works.
I like that. I really like that.
I think it works. You know, would I have continued to tell Chan? Probably not. But I also wouldn't have thought about what he did. You know what I mean? So I think it's a credit to him that he took something that I don't really like conceptually and made it work. I know a lot of people who didn't like the idea of David Tennant coming back conceptually.
Yeah, I feel like even I was in that camp though of like, it sounds bad on paper, but then when you actually get used to the idea and then see it happen, you're like, no, I dig this.
The only slight thing that annoys me is when people like revise history now and pretend like this was always the intent of the Timeless Child, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Like, the adoption narrative is very minimal in the actual Chibnall era. Like, it's very kind of like, I don't know what my memories are. That's the core issue she has with it at that time. And that got a bit boring after, like, the third time of her saying it, you know? This is more interesting because the Dockers accepted it, but also they know so little about themselves now.
Yes.
But they also almost don't want to think about it. They're like, I want to move on. So yeah, I thought that was handled very well.
Other stuff I found interesting from the Q&A, the Doctor's costume.
Yeah,
I quite liked finding out that his grey t-shirt with all the stripes.
Yeah,
they reflected. Was it the actual babies on the ship?
Yeah, the colours of what the babies.
Yeah,
like the badges were. I think each baby had a different colour badge or like suit or something.
I like how the costume, reflected in the set.
That was really nice.
Yeah, I thought stuff really like that was cool.
Also, we talk about that one baby that just looked depressed the whole time.
Yeah, because that was when it comes down to some of the few problems I had with the episode overall. I think it was in bits of the CGI, the deepfake, whatever.
I think most of the non-baby CGI.
Oh yeah,
good.
No, that's the thing.
Space
the episode, everything looks amazing. I think there are just certain bits, like the baby's mouth movements in particular, where it's like.
I said in my YouTube channel review, which you can go see if you for some reason haven't. I imagine you probably haven't by this point, but I said there, like, I think I would have preferred if the mouse just didn't move and it was like a telepathic thing. Yeah. I think probably would have been better.
Yeah, because it was giving those early 2000s, 90s films of, ooh, it's not quite there yet. Yeah. Particularly with that one baby, Eric was his name?
Yeah, Eric is
he just looks depressed throughout, like...
Yeah.
It's like
he's trying to be happy.
Yeah,
and
he's like, I love you, Ruby Sunday, and you're like, this is not coming through.
Yeah. But I guess that's the problem with working with babies, even then, though. Yeah. Even if it was done like through telepathically, like what we were saying, like, can't force a baby to smile, you know, you can't really. It's hard, isn't it, I suppose?
Just because I'm cautious of time, do you want to talk about the actual resolution then that we mentioned?
Yes.
About how
so it's revealed basically that the Bogeyman exists because it's a story that the children have conjured up, and the ship can kind of recreate memories to a certain extent.
Well, the whole idea was that the Bogeyman, it's a children's story. So it's been like manufactured through the babies and them
to kind of like keep them. Because Ruby says something like they need stories, they need fiction, they need. So that's like it's almost like in the same way as like food and water.
It's almost like, keeping them sane. You trap them with shit.
Pretty much, and obviously, as we find out, like the Bogeyman was created by the excess bogies.
Yeah,
the babies blow out, which. Yeah, certainly a way of doing it, and
he was a literal bogeyman.
The way they resolve getting the babies to some sort of home, because that's a point as well. They're like basically refugees, they say as well.
Yeah.
They use the excess methane from the ship, from the nappies, to basically boost this space station, which is stationary.
It's really goofy and dumb, but I couldn't help but love it.
Yeah, no, it's the sort of thing where. But again, for this type of episode, it works. Yeah. Remember much. I mean, people said it's too silly. Like, I will remind you of the Slitheen in series 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's same with like New Earth though, where it's like they resolved that story by mixing all of the medicines together.
Yeah. It's like
that's not how that
that's
works.
not how that works at all.
But sure.
Like, yeah, sure. And it's the same with this. It's like it is in that kind of New Earthy style. I'd say it's better than New Earth, but it's kind of
I agree.
It's in a similar mold to New Earth. I think is the closest.
Yeah, it's
comparison.
the fun, light-hearted opener. There were bits of like scariness or whatever throughout, but no, I like it.
No, I did as well. I'm just trying to think of anything else while we're pressed for time.
I don't know. If you want, maybe we could talk about the next time trailer a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing I just took away from it was obviously the Doctor says the toy maker mentioned in Legions, and then it panned to a shot of Jinx Monsoon, which I was like, oh,
that's cool. Getting a bit of confirmation on that.
Do you think? I was thinking about this. Could they do a thing like an Avengers-y type thing where it's like all the gods team up?
Maybe
for like an era finale or something. So you get like Neil Patrick Harris toy maker, Jinx Monsoon, anyone else, like maybe one of the maybe Mrs. Flood or whoever is the or Twist.
I can't see it happening, and that's only because I feel like a threat level on that scale might be a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard to really.
It's hard to do that in a satisfying way.
Hard to really visualize that, isn't it? As well, because like they all have so unique powers. Like, how do you sort of put them together and it not be like a significantly over budget? I guess, but I am interested in that. Also, actually, while we're here, the family find out at the end.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was interesting. We're not really keeping it secret from them.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, because the Doctor. What I found interesting was the Doctor seemed very proactive in wanting Ruby to call her mum. So I do think maybe there's a bit of a connection with the 14th Doctor there in the sense of he's kind of understood the value of family a bit more now, and he's like, yeah, go call her.
Yeah, I like that.
Which I like. I like that. The DNA scan and the snow again at the end I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Do we think Ruby is human?
I don't know, because they were sort of implying otherwise. Or something's going on there, and I don't know.
It is weird, isn't it? Very. I've got no idea. I genuinely don't have a clue how they're going to deal with that. But like the snow motif, like the snow inside the TARDIS was a really like cool visual.
Yeah.
Really, really nice. I love that TARDIS.
I think that's the main hook for me. It's like the Mrs. Flood reveal is cool, like the who's the other one? Susan Twist. Yeah. It's like I like them conceptually, but I think the snow thing has really hooked me. I'm like, I want to know more about this.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same camp.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see what Ruby's doing. And I know some people were really saying, it's just another impossible girl making the companion too important. I don't necessarily think it is. I think there's a difference between making your companion overly important and giving your companion a hook.
Yeah.
And I think just because she's adopted and she might not be human doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to be
because I also think that Ruby Sunday as a character, from what we've seen so far, is one of the more grounded, realistic portrayals.
She doesn't feel like, for example, and I love a lot of the Moffat era, so this comes with love. But like, for example, Clara, by the end, she's so confident with travelling and so.
I mean, her whole thing is she essentially becomes the Doctor.
And that's not Ruby at all. Ruby is very much, she's very much a grounded character, very much a human who has a human perspective.
Yeah, she has a lot of flaws.
And she asks questions naturally without it ever feeling like, like some classic stories. Doctor, what's happening? Doctor, what's going on? Like, she asks questions that you think people would ask.
Yeah.
Like, for example, saying like, oh, but your boxer's police, but you're a doctor, and all that sort of stuff. Thought that was good. Like basically, I loved the gag of him explaining, my people had titles like the bishop, the mundane, the Rani.
Yeah.
And he says it with such joy as well. He's like, the Rani.
Yeah.
He loved saying that. Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. That TARDIS is just.
Oh, it was so nice. Yeah.
Like when you see him.
It's like when he changes he changes the lights. You're like, damn, it looks good. I mean, it always looked good, but really hit.
It's like it's such a cool set. Anything else?
I don't know. I feel like there probably is, but like,
I guess we've got to because as well, Devil's Court we'll have to like do one of these probably later than this.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So we can record.
I feel like Devil's Cord we might have more to say. I mean, not that we don't have stuff to say.
No, I think stuff that we haven't mentioned we probably already said in our reviews anyway. Yes. But if you do want like a more like put together thing, then go watch them.
And I think as well, like as the weeks go by, we'll probably do like separate like I know I'll be doing like theory videos and stuff, and I think this episode will be one that, like with all Doctor episodes, gets micro-analysed till the cows come home, as we all like to do. Was there anything else you wanted to mention on the Q&A end?
I don't think so. Obviously finding out about like the sets and stuff were pretty cool, but like there's nothing that particularly stuck out to me that we haven't covered.
Other than the episode 4 Quite Welsh.
Yeah.
Which I think I saw. Yeah. I saw a post, was it Radio Times, saying that like there was a bit of Welsh folklore in the new era, so I was assuming that's what that's for, which, as a Welshie, very excited for.
A Welsh
No Scotland episode for you. You, to be fair, you've had like, how many Doctors have you had?
4? 5?
Yeah.
Technically, I guess 6? I don't know.
There's been a lot.
How many Tennants do you count?
2, I guess. Yeah. No, we haven't had a Welsh Doctor. It needs to happen. For all we've given this damn show, it's time they return the favour. But I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. It's been fun to do this in person, hasn't it?
We've tried 3 times in the past, and it just has never worked.
And even now, like you're getting a bus in like half an hour, so we
like an Uber is literally coming. That's why this might be a bit rushed and thrown together, just because I am conscious of time.
And if ever you wonder why I'm like looking over there or looking over here, it's because I'm looking at the time and stuff like that. So, but thank you for watching. I'm sure you'll get another episode from us, hopefully for every episode. Hopefully.
Yeah, if not, I guess not. We could maybe do like a bundle job, like maybe 2 episodes.
Yeah, we probably could bundle the finale ones into 2, maybe.
Yeah, I guess it just depends how busy we are. I imagine you'll be quite busy.
Yeah,
on the channel.
I always am with like when a series happens. The way I describe it to family members, it's like when like Santa Claus at Christmas. It's like whenever a Doctor Who series comes out, that's like.
Yeah.
It's like
reviews, theories, like previews.
Yeah, you just gotta go on everything. Yeah. Viewing figures, I like talking about the viewing figures. How do we think that'll do? Quick prediction.
I don't know.
Because there's a double bill as well.
Yeah.
The BBC One thing. My guess? Do you want to know my guess? I'm gonna say.
I think it'll be similar to Ruby Road.
I'm gonna
maybe a little bit more with the amount of promotion.
I
don't know though.
Dare I say it? I'm gonna say this. Space Babies. 5.5 overnight. It was 5 million overnight for Star Beast, but I think this has had more promo almost and more build.
Well, you even said that the turnout to the preview screening we went to was
bigger.
Yeah, more full than when you went to see the Star Beast.
And you got things like you get with
the Doctor Who train.
Yeah, the Doctor Who train. You've got like you get with Madame Tussauds. You've got like the London bus. You've got
it's everywhere. It really is everywhere. He's
all the American talk shows. Yeah. The One Show, the trailers being played constantly. I could see a boost from the 60th, because the 60th wasn't when the full force of the marketing was really in effect. And even, that did well. So I'm thinking maybe 5.5 million overnight, including the iPlayer, for Space Babies. Possibly maybe going to 8 million in the 7 days. Devil's Cord I could see seeing a drop just because it's directly.
Yeah,
then again, I don't know, because that's the one that preludes Eurovision, so maybe that'll boost it. Actually, I
don't know. I can't
because I know people are boycotting Eurovision as well, so I don't really know how.
I'm not as versed in the viewing figures as you, so I'm not.
I just find them interesting. Yeah. Really, I could see maybe it's like dropping like 5 million overnight for that, and then maybe like
which is still really good.
Like 4.8.
Yeah, I think it'll be a gradual decline as it goes, but it won't be.
No,
the numbers will be really strong.
I mean, that's what the 60th was, right? The 60th was pretty stable for all of it, and Church was the same. Church came out a couple of weeks later, and that was around the same ballpark.
I could see it being like that.
4-5 million overnight, 7-ish million in the 7 day, and I think all of them made it over 8 million in the 28 day. I think so. Very good, very strong, and obviously, I think given how much promo they're doing in America, I mean, you'd hope that the Disney numbers are gonna. Be good. Obviously, we don't even know that. I wish we did.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
Curious.
But that wraps up this video. Be sure to Like it if you enjoyed.
Like,
subscribe
and
to Wild
comment down
Endeavour.
your thoughts. Did you like the episode, or did you think it was mid?
Yeah, the mid babies or the base babies? What do you think? Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.